and welcome back to Watches Tonight on Watchbox Studios.
Hi, welcome back to the Watch Insider. My name is Brian, and thank you for logging on.
Hey guys, welcome back. Happy Friday. Welcome back to the trading desk.
Tonight, I'd like to share a few of the colored gold watches that I love, explain why I love them, and try to build a bridge between these watches and you guys out there. It would be my pleasure to read your selections for what colored gold watches you love from the chat box during this segment. Okay. You already know that I love the anti-gold bronzed physique of the Big Bang Mecha 10, so let's move on to Audemars Piguet. Okay. While others like Vacheron, Rolex, and Patek have kept the faith with fans of colored gold, especially yellow gold, no brand has made more noise about its return to yellow gold, the yellow gold fold, than AP since 2016's Show of Force in the Royal Oak collection. Then came 2017 and the Jumbo. A gold on gold Royal Oak 15202 extra thin was a bit much. That's the model you see there, but the light blue dial was just right, fairy tale style. And note the attention to detail right there, as that blue is lighter by some margin than the tapisserie galvanized blue on the rose gold. So you have two galvanized blues. That one is darker than the yellow gold, and distinctly so. I should also say that complete with a classic caliber of ultra-thin proportions, this is the ultra-thin we've come to know and love since the very beginning. This is the core Royal Oak, and in yellow gold, for some reason, the watch that was only ever designed to be made in steel just sizzles. I love this thing. The show-stopping 2017 15202BA would be an easy choice for me, and something I would actually own myself and buy with my own money. It makes yellow gold lovable to younger tastes. Now, even if all younger buyers, and keep in mind, we're talking 30s through 50s here, not kids, not teens, not in their 20s, but as opposed to people retired wearing their yellow gold retirement watch, but even if all younger buyers can't swing the $55,400 retail price of this Jumbo, changing perceptions is an exercise that starts early, and AP is ahead of the game with this watch. I love this piece.
If both of us owned all three of these watches from a trader's perspective, because that's what this show is about, you know, a trader's desk, from our perspective, what makes the most sense of these three watches to buy, sell, and trade based on value retention. So this week we have a couple watches. We're going to start with the buy, right? So the buy for this week is going to be, the theme was gold dress watches, right?
Gold dress watches.
Kind of, right now I say sell all of them. But no, all joking aside, there's a theme here. So the theme is modern dress watches, gold. Okay. So the first one is going to be actually a watch I sold yesterday. Had a relatively long conversation with a regular client of mine, Dustin, who went ahead and pulled the trigger on this. So this is my buy for this week, and it's a Omega Aqua Terra.
Goodbye, Dustin.
Yeah, solid buy.
Solid buy.
John actually came over to my desk yesterday when it was on my desk and was like, "Woo."
That's
solid watch,
yep.
A lot of gold, right? And the cool thing is, and I was telling him this too, I took photos, sent it to him. It looks yellow when you try to take photos of it, but it really is this rich, handsome rose gold. But $35,000 retail, right? You can get them 18-ish pre-owned and like clean, like 2017 or 18s for around 18.5, box papers, everything. And you want to talk about bang for the buck, solid gold watch. I mean, a lot of gold. And if you ever decide to sell it, you bought it at the right price. So
that's right.
Feel bad for you if you walked into Omega and they told you no discount and you paid $35,000 for that. But if you're smart and you bought it the right way, I think you got years and years of having that watch for free or for very little loss. So the next watch in this category is going to be the sell version, right? And the sell is going to be the 116509. So white gold Daytona, specifically this blue dial version is my favorite iteration of this watch. I just took one of these in, so that we'll have that a little bit later if you guys are interested. Fantastic watch, right? The Daytona arguably, one of the most on fire watches that Rolex has in the lineup right now. We saw the stainless steel push up the market with the ceramic. Then we saw the gold pieces. Then we saw, the platinums are up. Anything in Daytona, anything with a crown on it, really.
Yeah, anything with a crown on it. 100%.
The Daytona specifically, This is a huge value proposition, which Josh and I talk about a lot, because if you're going to pay $22,000 for a steel watch, right? Why wouldn't you go pay $27,000, $28,000 for an all white gold?
I'm
watch?
with you, and you can get white gold versions on leather straps if you like leather straps. You can certainly go pick one up for similar money to what steel Daytonas are running for now. And I like the variation you get in the white gold pieces. You know what I mean? Blue dial is the best dial. I second that. This configuration, if you haven't seen it, beautiful blue dial. Yeah, it's a good piece.
Okay, so moving right along, here we have a Patek Philippe 3800/1J. So, I don't want to say had to bring a Patek Philippe on the show, but always looking for new and interesting pieces that come in, and this one really caught my eye. So here we have as I mentioned, Patek Philippe 3800/1J. So this watch came after the 3700 Jumbo and before the 5711. So this particular watch is, 37 millimeters, I think?
It's about 37.5 if you measure from wing to wing. Although if you measure it diagonally, for example, from roughly 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock, you're going to find it's more like a 35.
Correct.
I do consider the wings to be part of the Nautilus measurement, because everyone who quotes 42 for the Jumbo is quoting the width of the
Every
wings.
website is a little bit different sometimes too, which is interesting. They should almost just standardize what it means to measure the Nautilus. But anyways, here you have a bright blue dial with luminescent index markers, 18 karat yellow gold case, 18 karat yellow gold bracelet, and just overall, I think that as far as the viewers that are watching, Nautiluses have boomed, all of them, from vintage ones to the modern era ones. But I still think that the 3800 model actually offers a good semblance of value to be had, because it's not, and it's really, I should say that if you're willing to wear a watch that's slightly smaller than the current pieces, because it is smaller, but I think that it actually, for me personally, this size fits better.
Okay, a couple of thoughts about this watch. First, guys, it's one thing to tell, it's another to show. And where watch sizes are concerned, you really just need to see it on a wrist. And since you know mine well, I'll be your model. The mid-size works just fine. What is that watch? That is a Nautilus. Could you ever mistake it? No, you could not. If you know what a Nautilus looks like, you'll recognize this as the like. It's significant for a couple of reasons. First, the original mid-size, the 3800, debuted in 1981, and in this particular baton index style, it ran until 1995. In 1996, for better or worse, it was replaced with an adventurous new design, luminescent Roman numerals with leaf hands. Not everyone loves that look, but from 81 to 95, the 3700 and the 3800 looked essentially like each other, with the scaling so subtle that from a distance you might not be able to tell them apart. Also important, this watch features the original Gerald Genta patented case construction. It's a monoblock. You can see that the flanks of the bezel do physically anchor it to the bottom case. So two parts, bezel with its flanks and the case. Clamped together, the watch is a front loader, so the dial and the movement go in from the front and they come out from the front. And that's how the watch achieved 120 meter water resistance despite being less than 7.5 millimeters thick. The 3800, especially in this earlier pre-1995 variant, yes, it has pre-1995 hallmarks, is a special piece because it's a Nautilus through and through, and the mid-size maintained its monoblock case right up until the end of production in early 2008 as the 5800. So in many respects, short of size, this watch is closer to the original 3700 Jumbo in construction and engineering than the 5711 is. Plus, how much do you love that blue dial? It's before the gradient. It's one metallic sheen, everything even. And if you could see the Swiss signature, you'd also realize that this tritium dial is one of the Sigma dials as well. This is a timepiece that could also be considered a time capsule. It hasn't aged a day in style or in condition. But I would love to go for a spin with the IWC Portuguese Tourbillon hand-wound F.A. Jones. Now, this was a 2010 model year series of 50 pieces and very, very special. Reference 544702. I loved the look of its 43.1 millimeter yellow gold case when I first experienced this watch years ago, so much so that I was left stunned and frankly a little bit sad when it left us. And I don't say that of many of the thousands of watches I review for the channel. After disavowing yellow gold early in my collecting career, this IWC Portuguese gave me instant second thoughts about that choice. So punchy was that metallic blue dial The yellow gold dial furniture, including the indices, the numerals, the hands, the frame for the tourbillon, and the sub-seconds. That it throws shade on the flying tourbillon itself. Yep, you could almost forget that this is a flying tourbillon. It's there, it's present and correct, but it's not the highlight of this watch. Incredibly, the dial and the case overshadow the tourbillon, and that's what makes this one special. I cannot think of another dial-side tourbillon watch whose case and dial alone draw your focus entirely away from the signature mechanism. Also right here, I can see Anthony O saying he is a big fan of the rose gold Vacheron Constantin Corne de Vache. That is a very, very good point. And I can see Alvin saying Royal Oak steel and blue dial is a killer. Guys, tell me which colored gold watches you love. We know steel is real. It's always the king, along with platinum and white gold. But tonight, we're indulging. Play along with me. Jumping forward, playing along. The next watch is a superhero level Rolex complication, a truly special watch that caught me napping. I didn't know about this Daytona until it was practically on my wrist. It showed up on my desk the other day for review. It arrived for a video. I was simply blown away. After a close encounter with this dial, bezel, and case, I decided that it was my favorite of the 2017 Baselworld Rolex Precious Metal Daytona Oyster Flexes. We saw them in rose, we saw them in yellow, we saw them in white, and I thought it was all about the white gold until I saw this thing. Sure, white gold is offered, and that's my usual, but when yellow gold looks this good, or blanc can wait. The Cornish colored Cosmograph is the sleeper sensation of the entire collection. You can write that down. I'm sticking to it. Omega 2018, because where there is Rolex, there is Omega. And Omega 2018 brought the goods, and I was pleasantly surprised. This was the 25th anniversary of the original 1993 Omega Seamaster Professional Diver 300 meter. And this timepiece for me was the star. You never expect a mainstream volume brand to release a tribute to an obscure and somewhat dated design from the 1990s. But here it is, in Sedna, red gold, titanium, and tantalum. Tantalizing tantalum, I must say. Years ago, you might have met the original rose, tantalum, titanium Seamaster 300 meter diver chronograph on the Watch You Want channel when we still had the Watch You Want channel. I did, and I called it an Omega that was less for James Bond 007 and more for a Bond villain like the flamboyant Emilio Largo, who today is almost like a parody of himself, but I digress. Here we are, and there it is. The 2,500 pieces of this limited series will cost $13,000 each, so Omega had the nerve to price this against a Rolex Yachtmaster in full gold. Now, I should also say that exquisite detail, such as the blue titanium tantalum bezel combination, and you can see that there's a titanium case and a blue bezel underneath the red gold of the insert. That blue, including the center links of the bracelet, is the tantalum, and it is distinctly different. It is the bluest metal I have ever seen. It is not gray, it is blue.
Yeah, so for the trade piece,
the Day-Date.
So we got the Day-Date 40, and you know, really any kind of configuration right now I think is a good option. This one in the rose gold, what I like about it, and I think you can get really good value again in trade on this. Specifically because the upgraded movement, if you're talking about the 228, 3238 reference,
yeah.
The upgraded version, I love it. In fact, I know that we have a couple even for sale right now, but it's a good piece to move into, trade into, or to trade out of. I like it as the. I haven't always been a fan of the Day-Dates. There's a lot of them out there, different sizes. 40's right size.
I think Rolex hit the nail on the head with resizing this watch to 40 millimeters, and it's just absolutely perfect. The Day-Date 40, I'm not a big all gold watch fan, so Day-Date 40 is admittedly, or any Day-Date has always kind of been like I don't know about that type of watch. When they made the 40, put it on my wrist, and it just makes all the sense. I mean, you feel like you're wearing $1 million.
Right.
It's probably, it's funny. I was having a conversation with a client the other day. And that's probably the cheapest watch that I can think of. And, we use the term cheap loosely because of what we do. Because it makes sense. But for $30,000, that's the cheapest watch I can think of that you feel like $1 million when you're wearing it. You feel like you could rival the president of any company. You know, you have this. You could walk into a conference room and just demand $1 million worth of presents.
Right.
Wearing a $35,000.
And that's sort of that executive watch. I'll drop the Scott on the side so it doesn't flip.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, it's the watch that you know, you see boardrooms across America. What Rolex has done consistently over the years, they did it with the Daytona, is that they have the watches in the collection, but then they just improve it a little bit.
Well, that's
constantly.
really any Rolex.
Yeah, it's any Rolex,
and
exactly.
The thing, too, is like a lot of people, I think you really have to own a Rolex to understand a Rolex. I've said that before. I feel like people that hate on Rolex don't quite understand because they never want it. There's a reason why Rolex has the most patents of any watch company in the world, right? Yeah. There's a reason why they are who they are. And just because, I mean, there's a beauty to the fact that, like, my ceramic sub looks like every sub before it, but is steadily improved over every generation. And that's the reason why it holds value. That's the reason why people want it, amongst other things, you know, business things like supply and demand and keeping the watch fresh. But, you know, there's a beauty to the simplicity of Rolex. And the Daytona, for me, you know, if we're going to do a poll or this or that of those three, this is my favorite watch of the Daytona. But I like anything that buys, sells, or trades. So I like all three of these watches.